Was that even funny? Okay, first one is what am I watching? I finished Atypical and That to Me, which are two brilliant drama comedy series, and I really recommend them. They're on Netflix. Atypical, I think, is having a final season, and I'm not sure about That to Me, but I know there is a next one that is coming out. I've been rewatching The Walking Dead and reading all the comics. Something you should know about me is that I'm a huge Walking Dead fan, at least I used to be. Walking Dead was a big part of my life when I was in university, and it all came down the hill with season 8 and season 9 as well, mostly, where I literally just stopped watching because I didn't care anymore. Trying to go at the same pace, so I read 1 or 2 issues of or volumes of the comic book, and then I go back to this TV series, and then I stop and then go back to the comic, etc, because I really want to have this kind of conversation in between the comic and the TV series, which is something that I've never done with any other piece of media, and I think it's an interesting exercise, and at the same time it's going to be some more content for you guys. I started Sense8, Dark, and Ozark as well. Ozark is literally like a step up when it comes to Breaking Bad, for example. It's one of those money laundering, drug and crime series. Great performances by everyone on the cast, Jason Bateman especially, who's grown up so much as an actor. And it's great, honestly, it has so much punch that I feel like watching 1 season of Ozark was already as much as watching 5 of Breaking Bad, so I'm really enjoying Ozark. The anniversary of Watchmen. HBO Watchmen came out almost exactly a year ago. I think right now would be exactly in the middle of that limited series. I loved Watchmen, especially that series, because it's one of the exceptions that really managed to reinvent itself when it comes to the source material, when it comes to everything that has been done in the past, when it comes to the adaptations, like Zack Snyder's and his director's cut of Watchmen. When it comes to the comic, I mean, I love Alan Moore's comics in general, but Watchmen, I read it almost on a yearly basis. I've actually dressed up as Rorschach at the Comic-Con from, I think it was last year, at the Paris Comic-Con, and I hope that we get more like those, because I think The Boys is good, Umbrella Academy is good as well, but they're never at the same level as HBO's Watchmen when it comes to the political message that it is trying to convey, as well as the performances and just the way it's shot and it's paced and the structure of it all. I think we can do better. Transition. So there are 2 new seasons that are coming out in the next few weeks, which I'm really interested in, so I thought I could talk about them a bit. There is Big Mouth season 4. I really like Big Mouth. It's completely hilarious and awkward and sad at the same time, which is kind of like the vibe that most animated series have been trying to hit when you think about BoJack Horseman or Rick and Morty or Toucan Birdie. Anyways, Big Mouth season 4. What can I remember from season 3? It's mostly the controversy. A new pansexual character was introduced in the series, and there was a big dispute between this character and another character of the series who is bisexual. And basically, by the way it was written, this character was saying, the pansexual character was saying that they were better than the bisexual character because they had the capability of loving everyone, while the bisexuals were still believing into the gender binary. And it created a huge controversy. It's something that is not really nice to hear. There is no sexual orientation that is better than anyone, so even the creators, the show creators, they were interviewed and they apologized for that portrayal. It might seem like not an important thing for you, but when it comes to those kind of things, and especially when it comes to this series, which is a sexual education series mostly aimed at preteens or teens, it's important to give out the good information, because this is the kind of information that is not being delivered at school most of the times in some states, for example in the United States, but even in other countries don't have as much sex education as others might have. So if you think it's not an important issue, it actually is, because for some people that is the only way they can get access to that kind of representation, and it's important. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, season 4 is coming out. It's not technically season 4. I made a mistake like a couple of years ago, thinking that it was divided by seasons, but it's actually divided by parts. And this is gonna be the second part of the second season, which is also gonna be the series finale. It's kind of sad to think about it. It was cancelled in July by Netflix. I have no idea why. Honestly, I love The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina because unlike Riverdale, unlike other shows, other supernatural shows, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina manages to actually have really good effects, really good performances. It manages to juggle in between the teen drama and the horror elements. And I think the most important thing is that it takes everything so seriously. The occult is taken seriously, the witches' covens are taken seriously, and the world building is just so fascinating. And I think we've been waiting for a new spin on a supernatural series for so long. So that's coming out December 31st. And I hope that you're gonna watch it. In this season, in the fall season, there were so many new movies that were supposed to come out. One that immediately comes to mind is Wonder Woman 84. Personally, the first trailer was really not that good. Yeah, I wasn't impressed. The second trailer was a bit more interesting, but I'm starting to get some kind of 80s fatigue. Other reasons why I'm not really that interested in the sequel to Wonder Woman is because of some narrative choices that I really don't like. First of all, one of them is probably not their fault because they couldn't know how big of an impact the musical Cats would be. But I'm really not interested in Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. When I saw these special effects in the trailer, I was just like, cut me out. It brings back way too many hurtful memories. I don't want to see that ever again. I don't want Chris Pine back. Honestly, I think he did his job in the first one, and I see no absolute reason for him to come back in the series. I think it slows Wonder Woman down, and basically just gives her someone to walk around the set and to talk with, you know. But at the same time, she's gonna be lecturing during the entire film because she's gonna be the one that is entirely up to speed, and he's gonna be the one who just got frozen in time, and she'll have to explain everything that has happened in the last, 40 years, for example. And I think it's just not a narrative thing that I'm interested in. Plus, I'm not that involved in the romantic relationship either, so that's why I don't think I'm gonna be catching it at the cinema. I think I'll wait for it to drop on streaming when it comes to that film. Mando Season 2. I see that a lot of people have been getting into that Star Wars extravaganza. Personally, I'm so fatigued. I'm so done with the Star Wars franchise as a whole. I think the last trilogy was a complete mess narratively, and I just don't want to see it anymore for a couple of years. So that's why I'm not watching The Mandalorian. I didn't watch the first season, and I'm not going to be watching the second season. So if you're interested in that, just know that I'm not going to be covering that kind of footage. Not for now. Not my thing. So as you know, Depp stepped down from his role as Grindelwald. I think it's really complicated to explain why in details. It has a lot to do with how he has behaved when it comes to his marriage with Amber Heard. And there were a lot of legal issues that lasted for almost 4 years, and I want to focus on the decisions that have been taken by these studios instead of actually lingering and imagining what it would be like, what it would be if it was different. From what I've heard, the studios would like to hire Matt Mikkelsen to replace him in the role. Matt Mikkelsen is an incredible actor, and I think he has exactly that perfect cold yet fascinating vibe that could fit really well with Grindelwald. Plus, if we think about the whole Fantastic Beasts franchise, the first one we had Colin Farrell, second one we had Johnny Depp. If in the third one we have a different actor, it could be a thing. It could be a narrative thing when it comes to Grindelwald as a character. He changes actor in every single film he's in. Turn it into a magical thing. I think I wouldn't mind it. I think it will be also the first time that it's done successfully in a movie franchise, kind of like in Doctor Who when it comes to the TV series. I think that could be an interesting angle that they could explore, but I don't know if they're gonna do it. But I hope they do. I know there are gonna be 3 more films when it comes to this franchise. Personally, the first and second one are a bit messy. I think actually they have the exact same problems. They still cannot choose in between 2 different kind of tones: the Fantastic Beasts tone and the darker David Yates Harry Potter tone that was sort of unfolding in the last few films of the series. And that is exactly where the problem comes from. They have no idea what to do with Newt Scamander, even though he's a really good character and he's really interesting. And they keep trying to push him into that kind of other plot, and it's just not working because all the other characters that are surrounding are so quirky and weird. And that's why I think it has created a lot of pacing issues when it comes to the first, but also the second film mostly. The solutions that they've taken when it comes to that franchise, officially the next film, they've replaced J.K. Rowling by Steve Kloves, who before he was producing all the films, just so you know. And right now he's gonna be back to actually write the screenplay for the film. I think it's a really good choice. I think the first and the second film has shown that J.K. Rowling simply cannot write a screenplay, a decent screenplay. She, especially in the second one, you can see that she hid so many different little bits of world building in, and in the end they never came together as when it comes to the narrative depth of it all. I think it's really clear that she's a good novelist and not a good screenplay writer. Honestly, I would replace David Yates. He's been making, I think he's made maybe the last 5 films in the Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts connected universe, and I think you need a fresh voice, and I think we need something new, a breath of fresh air. Like for example, when Cuarón came for the third film, it changed completely the direction of the series, and everything was for the better, in my opinion anyways. I like Chris Columbus' take on the first and second film, but I honestly are my least favorite films in the franchise. So now I want to focus on what I'm gonna do in the next few videos, just so you know. One thing that I want to create is what I will call a shitty tier list. It's gonna be following the tier list mode of filmmaking, you know. I'm gonna choose different topics. I'm gonna go as niche as possible. I'm gonna choose really weird topics, and then I'm gonna just put all the knowledge together and make some lists. I'm gonna be making 2 visual essays. One is gonna be focused on the zombie genre, and another one is gonna be focused on rage as an emotion. And there are gonna be 2 other ones. One is gonna be in Italian, one's gonna be in French. You're gonna be getting a top 2020 videos, and I'm gonna be making also a supercut of every single film that I've watched this year. I think I wanted to have something that would reflect more everyone's perception of cinema, and of course that means new films, old films, watching films for the 5th time. I'm gonna be dropping a new video every Wednesday. It's probably gonna be at 6 o'clock European time, so Parisian time. You can check the times on Google. Maybe I'll put them up here or in front of my face. Having said that, if you like this video, subscribe to see more. Don't forget to leave a comment down below for any kind of suggestions, or if you want to share the movie news that you heard. Hope to see you soon. This was Patrick from Torn Apart.